Hi guys. Today I have a very good show for you, and I hope and which I know you are going to like the show today because I have prepared some very good things. And so you remember this is a new channel, guys. If you haven't subscribed on our YouTube channel, please go and subscribe. Follow us on TikTok and Instagram. You can also check me out on Facebook. We are also on Apple Podcast, and very soon we'll be doing live stream on Twitch or maybe Kick. Okay, so because I have many people have been telling me now, like, hey, you have to do some live stream on Kick or Twitch, and I promise you guys, we will do that. We will have all the uncomfortable questions discussed all over the platforms, and I believe people will learn more, people will know more, because we are going to dive into a lot of things that people don't want to talk about. So today, what to expect from this show, I'm going to explain exactly what happened in the trade deal between the United States and Canada. What led Canada, the Prime Minister Mark Carney, to withdraw from the trade deal, because people are hearing this, but they are not receiving the correct information of exactly what transpired in there. And then we are going to talk about the robots Olympics, what China is doing, and it's something surprising, but we are also going to see the side effect, like the danger of that, of creating these robots looking like human, and what are the potential danger of that in the future. And lastly, we are going to talk about the crusader Jack Liang. You know Jack Liang. If you don't know him, you are going to know about him. The crusader in the United States, a white supremacist who went to Minneapolis, and he was crusaded himself by Spider-Man. So all of that will be in this show. Welcome to the uncomfortable question. Let's start with the word of the day. The word of the day is kakistocracy. What is kakistocracy? Kakistocracy is a government by the least qualified or the most unfit people. Those are the ones calling the shots. It means the dumbest, the cowards, the people who are not qualified to be in the position of leadership are the one who are calling the shots. Like what we are seeing right now in America, in the United States of America, that is what kakistocracy means. The least qualified people are the one in position of power and are the one calling the shots. And that will transition us to the topic of the day, which is the trade deal between the US and Canada. What exactly happened in the trade deal? What led Mark Carney to withdraw from the trade deal? And there's no one who can explain it better than this guy from the LBC, Simon. He really explained it better. Let's listen to him.
I mean, Mark Carney has schooled every leader around the world, perhaps with the exception of Giorgia Meloni, in how you actually stand up to Donald Trump. Because what the Americans appear to have been trying to do in those trade talks late last week into Friday, and remember that at the beginning of the week, we all thought the trade talks were going to result in a deal. Both sides were talking it up. And then the Commerce Secretary, Howard Lutnick, appears to have injected into the conversations a whole load of absolutely, from the Canadian viewpoint, outrageous demands that were going to include the United States having basically veto powers over any third-party trade deals that Canada wanted to strike. Say Canada wanted to engage in a trade deal with the UK, the Americans would have veto powers over it. There were elements in these propositions from Howard Lutnick that suggested that the United States wanted to force Canada to water down its own sovereign laws about how much French language content needs to appear on Canadian television. I mean, at every step, it was the United States basically trying to co-opt Canada into becoming America's 51st state. And so when Mark Carney said we were attacked, that was not simply a reference to the way he was feeling about the trade negotiations, but it was a response to the way he was feeling more broadly about Trump, who again on social media over the weekend said they want the benefits of being an American state without being an American state. The other issue that the Canadians identified was total disarray within Donald Trump's inner circle, with Lutnick and the US Trade Representative Jameson Greer at war with themselves over what this deal should look like. And Carney said, enough, I'm walking away. And if you want to impose 50% tariffs on $20 billion worth of Canadian exports, I will impose dollar for dollar reprisal tariffs. And we're going to find out what those are in the next couple of days.
And as you say,
Yeah, there you have it, guys. You see, so this is very big, and I actually really support our Prime Minister Mark Carney for working out these talks, because what he's saying, for those who didn't understand it very well, is that the American injected a clause in the deal that was being negotiated, something that the Canadian never agreed to it before, which means America wanted Canada to use a system that was used during like the colonial era in Africa, you know, by the French, whereby they ask the country, like Canada, does not have the power to negotiate with any other country in the world if America doesn't approve it. That is exactly what the American was trying to do. And that's why Trump says that Canadian wants to enjoy the privilege of being a 51st state, but they don't want to do that. So this was actually an attack on the sovereignty of Canada. And I truly support and salute the Prime Minister to recall or to call these negotiators to say, hey, come back. And then after that happened, Donald Trump got upset. And not only he got upset, he just went so rogue. And he's like, okay, so when he said that I'm going to impose a 50% tariff on the Canadian goods, the Prime Minister said, okay, if you do that, we are going to retaliate. Actually, we are going to match dollar for a dollar. And then Canada proposed a list, actually published a list of every single thing that are going to be matched on these 50% tariffs. So that drove Donald Trump extremely crazy that he cannot hold his breath anymore, because he's so upset. He's so upset because his plan to shut down Canada has fallen apart. So I'm going to make you watch this video so you can decide for yourself.
And today, Donald Trump is going for broke. He has taken to his social media feed to say, and I quote, "The United States is giving serious consideration to changing the name of Lake Ontario to Lake America, in that we don't expect to be doing much business with Ontario any longer." Now, that, of course, is very much in keeping with the president's decision when he first came back into power, recognised only by his most sycophantic supporters, to change the name of the Gulf of Mexico to the Gulf of America. But let's just drill down for a moment on the idea that the United States does not expect to be doing very much business with Ontario any longer. Do you know what happens if Ontario were to cut electricity exports to the United States? Take a wild guess. 1.5 million homes and businesses in Michigan, Minnesota, and New York rely almost entirely on Canadian electricity. Canada supplies the vast majority of US natural gas imports and about 60% of crude oil imports.
He says he doesn't need Canada. He wants to take our auto sector. I'd love to see him run cars without any oil.
But if Doug Ford, the Premier of Ontario, decides to flip a switch, he can literally turn the lights off in Michigan, Minnesota, and New York. So I wouldn't worry about getting your atlas out and scratching out the name of Lake Ontario and writing in Lake America anytime soon, because whatever the President of the United States may be typing into Truth Social, there is not a snowball's chance that this Lake America thing is going.
Yep, guys, there you have it. So this guy, after he failed intimidating the Prime Minister Mark Carney, and after Mark Carney said, guys, we are going to match dollar per dollar on every American good if he imposes 50% tariffs, he gets so upset, and his way to retaliate is to go on through his social media that he owns, and he's saying, now we have to change the name of Lake Ontario to Lake America. What a lunatic. You know, this is what happened when you pick a wrong guy to fight, okay? This guy, he has been making tremendous mistakes since he came to power, and he doesn't learn about them. He picked up Iran. He started a war that he doesn't know how he's going to come out of it. He has been stuck there. He doesn't know what he's doing. He's confused. He has been coming back and forth. I win the war. The war is over. And the war starts. The war is over. The war starts. And now he decided to shift the attention from the Iranian war that he is unable to win. He went and picked another wrong guy. Unfortunately, he went to poke the bear. That's Makani. And Makani said, I know how to stand to bullies. And what is happening? His decision is like, because he can't win on the first argument, now I have to change the name of Lake Ontario to Lake America. He just wants to please his dumb supporters because they're going to say, I won, because now the Lake Ontario is now Lake America. So he can do that overnight, and Canada will still call it Lake Ontario, and his supporters will be calling it like America because he's crazy, and his supporters are also crazy like him. So if you wanted to know what exactly happened, that is what happened. There are a lot of clauses that were not part of the deal that the American decided to introduce, and they wanted to take hold. They wanted to grab the sovereignty of this country. They wanted to take the sovereignty of Canada away from itself and be the one who are like remote controlling what is happening in Canada. And the Prime Minister of Canada said, we are not going to allow you to do that. Okay, now let's go to our third news. I told you about this. This is something that we keep pushing on agendas that sometimes in the future will bring us into chaotic and problem. There is this robots in China, and the Chinese decided to have this robot competitions. It's like some sort of Olympics competition of robots, and they were very, very funny. Actually, the funniest part wasn't about a robot running or robot doing exercises and so on. The funniest part was the result, like how robots were falling apart and how they were being taken care of. And that is something that you have to watch because it's really, really fun to watch. Let's watch. First, right there, you see, those are robots. They can run, but they don't know how to stop. So they have to put something so that because they are not able to stop, it seems like they don't know how to stop. So they have to go hit on whatever it's set in front, like a barrier for them to, just to break them down, okay? So those are robots. And the second one you just saw, this is another robot doing like all this jump, and we'll see this. Okay. Whoa, he's just kicking in the air. Okay, playing tennis with a human. Oh, what just happened? And look now, so they are organizing all these things and taking care of the robot, putting it down there, and with like nurses, like actually what humans do. Okay. Yeah, guys, this is what has been happening. It seems so funny for now until one day robots become so able to manage themselves, to do whatever they want. That's when the fun will end, because this has been said before, and we have watched a lot of movies. There is a likelihood that one day robots, if they are able to make their own decision, they are going to see what humans are doing. It's not good, and and robots are going to take over and probably take control of all of us. We have seen Terminator, so we know exactly how this is going to end one day. The more we feed these AI with our data, the more we train the robots to replace human and so on. we will have a problem one day with that. Right now it's fun, but I believe the fun will end one day. So, and the third one, let's talk about the Crusader. The Crusader, Mr. Jack Liang. Jack Liang, for those who don't know, Jack Liang is some white supremacist lunatic, because it's very, very important that you know about this man. This man is a white supremacist who pretend to be a Christian, and he will be carrying on crosses and go around insulting people and doing all sort of shenanigans and all that cause chaos and make even Christian look so bad, because he's not doing a favor to the Christian faith. If Christians are so violent, are so like this type was normal, going around throwing N-word everywhere, calling black the N-word and doing that and saying he's doing that under the name of Christianity, then nobody would even want to become a Christian anymore. But this time, Jack Liang went to a wrong place. Jack Liang went to Minneapolis. And when he went to Minneapolis, things didn't turn well for him in Minneapolis, because they said, we are not going to allow this BS in our city. And you know what happened? The most outstanding photo of the individual who stole the entire show, it's Spider-Man. Let's see what Spider-Man did during the Crusader in Minneapolis being crusaded. Yeah, so that's actually what happened. So people said, we are not going to allow you, Jack Liang, to come in our city and do all these sort of shenanigans. We are not going to let you do that. So they organized themselves. They followed him where he was organizing his rallies, a hate rally. And they said they stormed him there. The guy was very, very well organized. He came with the police. He said they have to protect him and so on. But people said, we are not going to allow this bigotry in our city. And it was crusaded, the whole thing. He went into running and so on. By the end of the day, he was arrested. The Spider-Man was also arrested, and we are going to follow to know exactly what's going to happen. After all, we know it's America. Jack Liang is supported by Donald Trump and the Donald Trump administration. Of course, that everybody knows that. And they own the Congress, they own the Senate, they own the Supreme Court, and so on. So there's a chance that they will probably find a way to pardon him. But I think the reason why he was arrested, they are going to use the state law. I don't know how the state law works in Minnesota, so there's a likelihood he may be charged with something, and then he's going to pay and so on, and then he'll be free the next day. That's how it works in America. You have to have money, you have to be connected to be able to do whatever you want and walk free. We have seen that. As I said earlier, we are living in a kakistocracy, where the dumb people, the least qualified, are the one calling the shots. If you haven't subscribed to our channel, please do. And until I see you again, God bless.